Caleb ended his shift the same way he always did, quiet, steady, and without waiting for anyone to notice. He gathered the last bit of trash in his hands, ready to leave, when a sudden rustle nearby pulled his attention. It wasn't loud, but it carried a weight that made him stop mid-motion. He turned, instinct leading him forward, and his hand tightened around the small flashlight he always kept with him. One click, one beam, and everything changed. A little girl was crouched over a torn bag, digging through scraps with the kind of frantic focus that only comes from pure hunger. Her dress was ripped, her feet bare, her fingers trembling as she clung to a worn-out teddy bear like it was the only safe thing left in her world. Every movement of hers held a desperate urgency, the kind a child should never know. Caleb froze. Not from fear, never that. It was something deeper, something sharp. A feeling that told him this moment wasn't random. This child wasn't just lost. She was fighting to survive. And without knowing her name, her story, or how she ended up here, he understood one thing clearly. She needed someone to step toward her, not away. And Caleb did. The moment Caleb stepped toward her, the girl jolted in fear. Her foot slipped, her hand scraped against a sharp tin edge, and a thin line of blood appeared instantly. She gasped, clutching her fingers, but before he could reach her, something shifted above her, fast, heavy, and dangerously close. A metal pipe began to fall. Caleb didn't think. He moved. One leap, one arm around her small shoulders, and he pulled her into his chest just as the pipe slammed down where she had been. The impact rattled through him, but the child in his arms stayed untouched. He held her firmly, feeling her shake, her breath barely steady. He lifted her gently and carried her to the break room, settling her onto the small couch and wrapping his coat around her tiny frame. She didn't fight him, didn't speak, just held her injured hand close while he found a slice of bread and a cup of warm water. She ate in small, careful bites, her eyes avoiding his, her body pulled inward as if waiting for harm that never came. Caleb sat beside her, quietly watching her gather the courage to look up. And finally, with the softest voice he'd ever heard from a child, she raised the bear in her arms and whispered. "His name is Mr. Buttons." That was the moment he knew she was beginning to trust him. Caleb sat beside her, keeping his movements slow and steady so he wouldn't frighten her again. He took her small hand into his, and the moment his fingers touched the bandage, she tensed like she expected pain. He didn't rush. He told her every step before he made it, what he was going to clean, how he was going to wrap it, and how he would stop if she needed him to. His voice stayed low, patient, gentle. She watched him with the guarded stare of someone who had learned not to trust anyone too quickly. But as he finished securing the fresh bandage, something shifted. Her eyes softened, just a little. Not enough to feel safe, but enough to say she didn't fear him anymore. She pulled his coat tighter around herself and curled into the corner of the couch, her breathing growing slower, steadier. Caleb stayed close, not touching her, but present in a way that told her she wasn't alone. And as she closed her eyes, that tiny spark of trust, fragile, unsure, but real, settled between them. He had no idea who she really was. To him, she was just a lost child. But far beyond this room, the world was searching for her, and Caleb was the only one who had found her. Caleb waited until she drifted into a light, uneasy calm before reaching for his phone. He hesitated for only a second, then whispered that he needed to call someone who could help her. But the moment the word slipped out, police, everything inside her broke open. She shot upright, shaking, her voice cracking as she cried out, "No. No police." The fear in her eyes wasn't simple fear, it was the kind that comes from memory, not imagination. Her whole body pulled away from him, as if the word alone could take her from safety. Caleb dropped the phone instantly and moved slowly toward her, hands open, voice steady. "Okay, no police. I won't call them. You're safe. I swear." He repeated it until her shoulders loosened and her breathing steadied. Only then did she stop shaking. He knew she needed something else, something gentle, something that belonged only to her. So he reached for the flashlight beside them and flicked it on, letting the beam dance softly across his palm. "Want to hear a story?" he asked. She didn't answer, but she didn't pull away either. "This one's about a little girl who lived on the moon," he said, letting the light move like a tiny star between them. "A girl who climbed down to Earth because she saw someone who needed her." Her eyes followed the light, her body slowly easing into the rhythm of his voice. And for the first time since he found her, her fear gave way to quiet listening. Caleb kept the flashlight steady, letting the moving glow give the little girl a world to hold on to. As he spoke about the moon girl he named Luna, her entire posture changed. The tension in her shoulders softened, and her grip on the bear loosened just enough to show she was listening, really listening, in a way she hadn't let herself before. He told the story slowly, giving her space to breathe between every line. And somewhere in the middle of that gentle tale, a memory struck him, uninvited, sharp, unchanged by time. Sirens. A phone call. His sister's voice one day, her silence the next. A loss that gutted him so deeply it had never truly left. He looked at the small girl curled against his coat and felt that old ache rise, the kind that asked why he couldn't save the one who mattered most. But tonight, someone else needed him. Someone who had no one else. As she finally drifted into sleep, her tiny hand still clutching Mr. Button's, Caleb understood something he hadn't expected to feel again. This child had given him a second chance at the one thing he thought he'd lost forever, the chance to protect someone who needed him. And he wasn't going to fail her. By morning, her trust was fragile but real. Caleb carried her gently into the clinic and stayed right beside her through every moment. When the pediatrician examined her injured hand, Caleb watched the girl cling to him with silent fear, as if letting go would erase her safety. The doctor stepped into the hallway, lowered his voice, and said the words that changed everything. "She fits an active Amber Alert, a girl named Luna Reed." Caleb's breath caught, not from shock, but from understanding. The world hadn't forgotten this child. It had been searching, waiting, desperate for her return. She wasn't just a lost girl with a broken teddy bear. She might be the missing Heiress, vanished for 2 years, mourned, prayed for, never found. And now she was here. In his arms. Caleb didn't ask questions, didn't look for credit, didn't think about what this meant for him. He simply said the only words that mattered. "I don't want money. No headlines. Just make sure she's safe." He didn't know that protecting her would become far more complicated than finding her. Finding her was a miracle. Keeping her safe will be a war. Caleb watched, silent, as the officers confirmed the fingerprints. A tremor of disbelief ran through the room. Murmurs turned into urgent whispers. Every face held the same question, the same shock: how could she be here, now, alive? The news broke almost instantly. Headlines screamed, "Missing Heiress found alive." Caleb's chest tightened. This wasn't about fame or recognition. This was about understanding. And then the truth landed, heavier than anything he had carried in years: she was Savannah Reed's daughter. Kidnapped. 2 years gone. 2 years of fear, of prayers, of empty hope. He looked down at the small girl clinging to his arm. Every heartbeat, every breath, was a promise he had made without saying it aloud: she would never face that alone again. The double doors swung open. Savannah Reed appeared, unsteady, trembling, every ounce of her body desperate, raw. She sank to her knees, arms extended but gentle, voice barely a whisper: "Luna." The girl froze. Eyes wide, chest tight, unsure, confused, terrified. Recognition didn't come. Not yet. Savannah didn't rush. She waited. Every second stretched, heavy with hope and fear. Arms open, heart exposed, ready to hold, but never forcing. Ready to let her daughter decide, even if. The social worker guided Luna forward, each step hesitant, trembling. She knelt and, with quiet determination, placed Mr. Buttons into Savannah's lap. Savannah's composure shattered. She clutched the bear as if it held every moment lost in the past 2 years. Only then did Luna lean into her mother's shoulder, careful, fragile, testing the world she had been torn from. Caleb stood back, unseen, heart twisting with ache and relief. He didn't linger for applause or gratitude. He slipped away silently, leaving the reunion to unfold in its delicate, imperfect truth. Luna is found, but nothing about this new world will feel safe for long. Savannah arrived at Caleb's door, humility and gratitude radiating from every step. "I can't thank you enough," she said, pressing a check toward him. Caleb shook his head, returning it without a word. "I didn't do it for money." She hesitated, then admitted softly, "She keeps asking for you, she wants to see you." Her eyes pleaded, honest and unshakable. "Will you come? She misses you." Caleb's jaw tightened. He nodded once, firm. "I'll go." Caleb stepped in, quiet, aware of every heartbeat. Luna didn't hesitate. She ran straight to him, arms wide, trust unreserved. For the first time in years, she played freely, laughter spilling without caution. Savannah watched from a distance, vulnerability breaking through her composed facade. "No one has asked me, are you okay?" she admitted, voice trembling with years of unspoken pain. Caleb knelt slightly, eyes steady. "I see someone who's still standing," he said softly, not a compliment, not an observation, just truth. Luna called for her mother. Savannah moved toward her, each step measured, hesitant. Before reaching her daughter, she glanced back at Caleb. In that moment, something passed between them, gentle, unspoken, incomplete. A shared understanding of grief, hope, and respect that neither could fully name. Luna is healing, but the house she returned to isn't healing with her. Inside the grand house, Luna shrank into herself. Small. Quiet. Stiff. Afraid to move too freely, afraid the world would swallow her again. Savannah tried everything, therapists, music, redesigned rooms, but nothing reached her daughter. Nothing could draw her back. One afternoon, Caleb arrived. Luna hid under the dining table, trembling, retreating from a world that still felt unsafe. He knelt slowly, voice calm, hands gentle. He didn't demand or scold. He simply said, "Come on, Luna. I've got you." And with that quiet insistence, he pulled her back, one careful step at a time, into a world she had almost forgotten could be safe. Caleb built a small moon hut out of cardboard with Luna in the garden. "I can't thank you enough," she said, pressing a check toward him. Caleb shook his head, returning it without a word. "I didn't do it for money." She hesitated, then admitted softly, "She keeps asking for you, she wants to see you." Her eyes pleaded, honest and unshakable. "Will you come? She misses you." Caleb's jaw tightened. He nodded once, firm. "I'll go." Caleb stepped in, quiet, aware of every heartbeat. Luna didn't hesitate. She ran straight to him, arms wide, trust unreserved. For the first time in years, she played freely, laughter spilling without caution. Savannah watched from a distance, vulnerability breaking through her composed facade. "No one has asked me, are you okay?" she admitted, voice trembling with years of unspoken pain. Caleb knelt slightly, eyes steady. "I see someone who's still standing," he said softly, not a compliment, not an observation, just truth. Luna called for her mother. Savannah moved toward her, each step measured, hesitant. Before reaching her daughter, she glanced back at Caleb. In that moment, something passed between them, gentle, unspoken, incomplete. A shared understanding of grief, hope, and respect that neither could fully name. Luna is healing, but the house she returned to isn't healing with her. Inside the grand house, Luna shrank into herself. Small. Quiet. stiff. Afraid to move too freely, afraid the world would swallow her again. Savannah tried everything, therapists, music, redesigned rooms, but nothing reached her daughter. Nothing could draw her back. One afternoon, Caleb arrived. Luna hid under the dining table, trembling, retreating from a world that still felt unsafe. He knelt slowly, voice calm, hands gentle. He didn't demand or scold. He simply said, "Come on, Luna. I've got you." And with that quiet insistence, he pulled her back, one careful step at a time, into a world she had almost forgotten could be safe. Caleb built a small moon hut out of cardboard with Luna in the garden. No hesitation followed. She packed bags, scooped Luna into her arms, and drove through the night, every mile fueled by determination to protect her daughter. At dawn, she knocked on Caleb's door. Luna's small body leapt into his arms, voice bursting with relief and joy, "Mr. Caleb." Savannah's whisper trembled, honest and raw, "I couldn't let her lose you, too." They walked together in a simple park, feet brushing grass, voices mingling in laughter unforced. Savannah spoke of fear, guilt, and a love with no instruction manual. Caleb listened. Luna held his hand. Together, they moved like a family, not out of habit, not by choice, but because it felt right. Days passed, workshops, books, library readings, quiet dinners. Luna's small voice broke the night, "We're a real family now, right?" Caleb smiled, soft, unwavering. "We always were." Even as peace settled between them, a shadow lingered. The world still knew Luna Reed as the child found after 2 years missing. The secrets of those lost years, the identity of the kidnapper, the forces that had torn her away, none of it had been revealed, confronted, or resolved. The warmth of their new life was real. But the danger waiting beyond the edges of this beginning was equally real.